You know the best Fortnite players use a mouse and keyboard because you have more keys so you can build faster and your aim can be more precise with a mouse. But if you're new, then learning to use a mouse and keyboard is more difficult than most people will think. And you may be wondering, what are you doing wrong and should you go back to using a controller? Hi, I'm Cram, and in this video, I'm going to give you some tips to help you get better at Fortnite using a mouse and keyboard. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications, so when I release a new video, you get notified. Look, when I first started playing Fortnite, it was on a PlayStation 4 with a standard controller, and in Season 3, I managed to get good enough to maintain a 20% win rate. So, I was pretty good. Not a pro player of course, but a 20% win rate is certainly nothing to sniff at. Anyway, I knew that my hardware was holding me back because I would watch all the top streamers on Twitch and they were using a mouse and keyboard and doing things I could only dream of. You see, the skill ceiling with a mouse and keyboard is much higher than a controller, but the skill floor with a controller is higher because of aim assist. In other words, it's harder to be bad at using a controller because you have aim assist to help you out, and it's easy to suck at using a mouse and keyboard, especially when you're first starting out. You see, when I started out I was awful as well, and I want to share with you some of the things I've learned to help you get better at playing Fortnite with a mouse and keyboard fast. Now let's get on with the first tip that I have for you, and that's to use a sensible sensitivity. One of the top things that are holding Fortnite players back is that they're using a bad sensitivity. Let me explain why. As you know, I started playing Fortnite on a console with a controller, but I actually have a lot of experience playing PC games with a keyboard and mouse. You see, when I was younger, I played a game called RuneScape for many years. Then I started playing League of Legends for a while, and I got quite good at that as well. And then I tried playing a first-person shooter game called Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, or CSGO, and I was playing that with a few of my friends. Now, I'm quite good at games in general, and I'm used to being the best at games in my friendship group, but I was by far the worst at CSGO, and this didn't make me feel good. I just couldn't get to grips with the game. What was I doing wrong? It wasn't until a few years later that I figured out the answer, and the answer was that I was using an awful sensitivity. The thing is, RuneScape and League of Legends are very different from CSGO because they aren't shooter games. You see, when playing League of Legends, you can use a much higher mouse DPI than usual to help increase your actions per minute or APM, and that's useful for a game like League of Legends. But it's not the same in a shooter game. For shooters such as CSGO and Fortnite, you need to be much more precise with your mouse movement, and this means using a lower DPI and therefore a lower sensitivity. For example, virtually all Fortnite Pro players use a mouse DPI of 400 or 800. Of course, there's more to Fortnite sensitivity than just the DPI you use, because you also have your in-game sensitivity to consider. You can calculate your true Fortnite sensitivity, or your eDPI, by multiplying your mouse DPI by your in-game sensitivity. I have a video all about eDPI, which I'll leave a notification to on the screen now for you to watch, and I also have a free eDPI calculator on my website, and there'll be a link to that in the description for you to use. So what sensitivity should you use in Fortnite? Well, the PSA method can be a great starting point because this will help you find a sensitivity that feels good to you. Another option you have is to look at what the best Fortnite players are using and base your sensitivity somewhat on that. I have a post on my website where I analyze the sensitivity of more than 300 Fortnite Pro players and go into depth about things like mouse targeting sensitivity and mouse scope sensitivity. It's a little bit long to go into too much detail in this video, but I'll leave a link to it in the description and I'll have a video about it coming soon, so make sure you subscribe to know when that gets released. Now the second tip I have for you is to get a mouse that fits your hand. Here's a quick story about how I chose my first gaming mouse for Fortnite, and it's a perfect example of when looking at what pro players use goes wrong. Let me take you back to early 2018. At the time, Ninja was by far the most popular Fortnite streamer, and he was arguably the best Fortnite player as well. Anyway, Ninja was using the Logitech G402 mouse. It has 11 programmable buttons, and Ninja bound all 4 of his building pieces to the buttons on his mouse. So he's one of the best builders, and he did it all just using his mouse. I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought if I bought the same mouse, then I could build just like Ninja. You see, the Logitech G502 is one of the best reviewed gaming mice, and it was very popular with Fortnite players at the time because of all the additional buttons. So, I got the Logitech G502, putting my trust into Ninja and other Fortnite players and all the positive reviews. But this purchase was a mistake, because I didn't consider some of the most important factors when you choose a gaming mouse for Fortnite. That's the size and the weight. You see, you want to use a mouse that is the right size for your hand. When your mouse isn't the right size for your hand, your aim will never be as good as it could be. Look, the Logitech G502 is a very large mouse, but I have quite small hands, so I need a smaller mouse. So how big should your mouse be? First, start by measuring your hand from the base of your wrist to the tip of your middle finger. Next, take that number and multiply it by 0.75 and then again by 0.7, and you should have 2 values, and you want to look for a mouse that's in between those 2 values. Of course, this isn't a perfect method, but it's a very good starting point, and you'll be in a much better place than most players, including me when I first chose my mouse. Also, you want to make sure your mouse uses a top sensor. Most gaming mice today do use a good sensor, and as long as you get one from a reputable manufacturer. I also recommend you get a mouse with side buttons because this will help when customizing your keybinds, and I'll get into keybinds in just a moment, but I want to speak a little bit more about your mouse first, because there's another thing you have to consider, and that's the weight of your mouse. Generally speaking, you want to use a mouse that weighs less than 100 grams, because a lighter mouse is easier to aim with, and it can cause less fatigue. Going back to the Logitech G502 that I had, it weighs 121 grams. In other words, it was like a brick, and it didn't fit my hand, and that was holding me back from being as good as I could be at Fortnite. Eventually, I made the switch and bought the Zowie S2, which is a smaller and lighter mouse, and my aim has never been better. If you need help choosing a mouse, I have a post on my website that covers some of the best gaming mice in Fortnite, including the size and weight of each mouse to help you find the perfect one. I wish something like this existed when I was buying a mouse, and as usual, the link to this will be in the description. The third tip I have for you is that you must find keybinds that work for you. Along with your sensitivity, your keybinds are another very important thing to configure in Fortnite, because you know that building is one of the most important parts of the game. And when you play Fortnite with a keyboard, you have a bunch of different keys that all need to be assigned to a certain action, as well as your weapon keybinds and your edit keybinds and everything else. But when you play using a controller, you don't need to give too much thought about your keybinds. You can just use the default options like Builder Pro and be done with it. Of course, controller players now have the choice to use custom keybinds, but that wasn't an option when I was playing with a controller. Anyway, when you're using a keyboard, you have to use custom keybinds because the default ones are really bad. But with so many keys available and so many actions to assign, what are you supposed to set your keybinds to? Well, one thing you could do is to look at what the pro players are using, and you could use this as your starting point. ProSettings.net keeps a comprehensive database of pro players and their settings and their keybinds. But you have to bear in mind that what works for one player may not necessarily work for you. You see, we all have different hand sizes and prefer to use different fingers and so on. So it's important that you experiment and really think about your keybinds. For example, before I even started to play Fortnite with a keyboard, I already had a rough idea of what good keybinds would be for me. The most important thing to consider is your building keybinds, and a good general rule is to bind them to keys that you press with separate fingers, because this will allow you to build most easily and quickly. And that's why getting a gaming mouse with side buttons can be useful. But there are exceptions to every rule, of course. For example, Mr. Savage uses his index finger to press all of his building keys, and he's one of the best Fortnite players in the world. So it's all about practice and experimenting, and making small tweaks over time, and doing this will help you find your optimal keybinds. This video is already getting a little bit lengthy, so I don't want to go into too much detail about keybinds, but if you want more specific guidance, you can check out some of the videos from It's Jerian because he has some excellent information. Now the fourth tip I have for you is to get comfortable while playing. Listen, one of the best things about gaming with a mouse and keyboard is that you can play while sitting completely upright, and this is a much more natural posture, which is better for your health, especially in the long term. On the other hand, gaming with a controller usually results in a slouch posture, and at every gaming tournament that I've seen where players are using controllers, the players are eventually heavily hunched over and in an awful posture, and this is terrible for your health. I don't even know if it's possible to play for long periods of time in a good posture when using a controller, because your shoulders need to be slumped forward somewhat to even be able to use a controller. But this just isn't the case with a mouse and keyboard. You can be natural, upright, and comfortable. Of course, you do need to give some consideration to the ergonomics of your setup. For example, you want to be sitting in a comfortable chair and have your desk and monitor at the correct height. There's a great resource on ergonomics from blitzresults.com that will help you calculate the optimal height of your desk and chair based on your measurements, so you can get everything set up perfectly for you, and I'll leave a link to that resource in the description. Another thing you want to consider is the amount of desk space you have. You want to have a suitable amount of space for your mouse and keyboard. You see, when you don't have enough room, then your mouse could hit your keyboard as you try to move around and aim, especially if you use a low sensitivity. Angling your keyboard can help to create more space, and you may also want to consider getting a smaller 10 keyless keyboard as well. Some players, for example Daquan, play Fortnite using the keyboard on their lap, but I wouldn't recommend this because it's not really a stable surface, and I can't imagine it's very good for your posture either, because one hand is going to be down low and the other one's going to be up high using the mouse. If you're looking to get a new desk, then I can recommend IKEA, because that's where I got my desk from. I use a Girton tabletop and it's supported on some Alex drawers. This is a very common setup from the Battle Stations subreddit, and that's one of my favorite places to go to see beautiful and inspiring setups, so I encourage you to check that out to get some ideas for yourself. The fifth and final tip I have for you is to take advantage of aim trainers to improve your mouse movements quickly. Look, Fortnite is an amazing game. I love it so much that I created a website and a YouTube channel to share my knowledge with as many people as possible, and I'm honored to have this opportunity. But Fortnite is terrible for anyone that wants to improve their aim fast. Let me explain why. You see, Fortnite has a lot of downtime because it's a battle royale. In other words, there's a lot of time where you're spent not engaging in fights with other players because you're looting or farming or just generally running around the map. And when you aren't fighting against other players and practicing your aim, you aren't improving. So here's where aim trainers come in. Aim trainers solve the problem of downtime and allow you to get a great practice session in a short amount of time. Talk about efficiency. There are some free aim trainers available, and some you can even play straight from your browser. But the one I recommend you play is Kovacs FPS Aim Trainer, which you can buy on Steam for a few dollars. Look, all of the best Fortnite players use Kovacs to improve their aim, because they know you're limited to how good you can get by merely playing Fortnite alone. If you're new to playing shooters with a mouse, then you're going to improve at a rapid rate when you use an aim trainer like Kovacs. Of course, it's helpful to know which scenarios to play, because there are over 1,000, so it's easy to get overwhelmed and waste your time playing useless scenarios. I have a guide to Kovacs FPS Aim Trainer on my website, and the link is in the description. In this guide, I'll show you some of the best scenarios to play and improve your aim in Fortnite, and give you some example routines based on your skill level. So, if you want to take your aim and mouse movements in general to the next level, you should read that now and start playing some Kovacs. So I know I said I had 5 tips for you, but I want to give you a final bonus tip, and that's to not give up. Look, I know it can be tempting to go back to using a controller. After all, you were good at using a controller, and you suck with a mouse and keyboard. And I know, because I was there once as well. But it's okay to suck at something, especially when you're a beginner. You see, when you're a beginner, it's when things are the most difficult, and it's also when you're learning the most and improving at the fastest rate. So you have to stick with it, and keep using a mouse and keyboard, and resist the temptation to go back and use a controller. Because you're just getting started. You're developing new muscles and your brain is learning new things every time you play. And it's not uncommon to experience some soreness or pains either, especially if you're playing for many hours. And the reason for this is that you're developing new muscles in your hand and arm, muscles that haven't been developed before. And if you are experiencing some soreness or pains, I would recommend taking a break. Make sure you're getting plenty of rest and plenty of sleep as well. You may also be wondering, how long does it take to get good with a mouse and keyboard? When I first started learning how to play the guitar, I wanted to know how long it would take me to get good, even before I started to play it. You see, we all want to know how long it'll take us to get good or get competent or something, even before we've put in the time. The thing is though, you've got to put in the work. And the truth is that it's going to take some people longer than others, because some people just learn faster than others. Also, it depends on how much you're playing and you're practicing. And when I say practicing, I mean really practicing, and not just wasting time. Listen, someone that plays Fortnite and Kovacs over 3 hours a day consistently is going to improve at a much faster rate than someone that's only playing 2 hours a week. So it's difficult to give a definitive answer to how long it'll take you to get good at using a mouse and keyboard. And what even is good anyway? It's such a difficult thing to define because it's so subjective and we all have different definitions, and it's a moving target. The better you get, the more your definition of good is going to be. With that being said, from what I've seen from others that have made the switch to playing Fortnite with a mouse and keyboard, and from my own experience as well, is that it takes roughly 3 months before you start to get competent. At the 3-month point, players typically get about the same level, or if not better, than when they were using a controller. But again, it really does depend. The thing is though, the progress doesn't stop after a few months. You still have so much further to go. There's so much more improvement to be had. And that's the beauty of using a mouse and keyboard. The skill ceiling is almost infinite. But you have to be patient and keep pressing onward, because that's the only way you'll be able to really reap the rewards. You may think that picking up a mouse and keyboard to play Fortnite with is going to be easy, because all of the top streamers and pro players have made it look that way, and you may think you're instantly going to become a better player. But it's not that easy. You've got to put the time and the effort in, and you'll even be tempted to give up and go back to the controller if that's what you're used to. I hope you found something of use by watching this video, and if you've enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because it really helps my channel grow. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day and continue to improve each and every day. Peace.